Good morning and welcome back to my table. This is DIY with Gayle from the Ketchikan Public Library. This morning we're going to make a bag, a book bag. We can no longer use our recycled bags at the library to send you home with your wonderful books. So I want to show you how to do this very simple bag. This one is 14.5 by 15. That is your outside lining. You need to cut 2 of those. You will also need to cut 2 of the inside lining, but they will be slightly shorter than the outside depending on what size you want your facing. The facing is on the inside of the bag. At the top, it's what we have our little handles and stuff in. You can also make it a solid color. And then you need to choose if you want a pocket or not. The pocket measures 14.5 by 6. And then the handles, I made 4.5 by, on this one, 25, which is very long. So you need to make your choice on the length of your handles also. On this one, I made them 22. Okay, and on the bag I'm making today, it will be 22. Okay, so all of these things you can alter. I'm just going to show you one way of doing it. Now, I want to tell you the number one thing about sewing, the biggest tip I can give you is not how to use a sewing machine or a sewing needle. It's the iron. The iron is the best tool in your toolbox for sewing, because not only does it, of course, take out all of the wrinkles and stuff, but look at, I'm not even going to use a pin when I sew that, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing. All I'm doing is folding this under just a little. I usually go about the width of my thumb pad, and just, oops, that one went a little wide. And make sure you do it right, because if you don't do the ironing at the right size, you're going to sew it at the wrong size. Okay? So it's very, very important. As I said, we're working on the handle right now. This is the handle. You can put wrong sides together and make a tube and pull it right side out and use it, but the strength isn't going to be there. So I'm doing it this way because I'm going to put 4 rows of top stitching on each of my handles to make it extremely durable. Okay? Now I have already ironed the other items that I'm going to use for time's sake. I just wanted you to know that the iron is extremely important, and I think it's the #1 tool in the sewing box, whether you have a sewing machine or not. All right, let's start our bag. The first piece we're going to use is going to be our pocket. Now I have already ironed it and turned it down, okay? And the only reason I use the pins is it's been setting here a couple of days, and I wanted to make sure to keep it nice and crisp and fresh. All right, here we go. Do not run over your pins, okay? Pins will break your thread and break your needle. And being I'm using quilting pins, they're much larger than the regular. So all I've done is sew my top edge of my pocket down. Okay, I'm using a dark thread so you can see that. You could use a red or a white so it'll disappear. I'm going to take one piece of turn my pocket over and upside down, okay? I want the top of the pocket facing the bottom of my bag. And that's going to be just a touch too high. And how we're going to tell that is we're going to flip it up and say, oh, yeah, it looks good there. Yeah, it does look good there. Okay. mine's a little short, and I'll have to remember that when I sew up my seam so that I make sure that I catch all of that. All right, so now I'm going to just sew right across there. Doesn't want to. It's okay. Now look, fold it up. And there's our little pocket. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pin that right here. And also on the other side to hold it nice and straight. Okay, now I don't want it to be just one great big floppy pocket. I want to have a couple of little pockets in it. So I'm going to go right here and this one I might want to have my cell phone. So I'll make it that width. Now note, I am double stitching that top to secure it on stress points. Same with the bottom, okay? And let's see, my next one, I might want to pop my mask in that one. So I'll go ahead and do that one just about here. Same thing, okay? Make sure that's flat. And then come back up here, do that double stitch. You want to do that a couple of times to reinforce that, okay? Now, if you're very, very, very particular and want to measure that down to make sure that you're making a straight line, you go for it. I am not an expert. I just like to play, and not everything is done perfectly. For example, as you can see, my material is kind of light. If I had some interfacing, I would go ahead and put that on, but I don't, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to make it this way. Okay, right sides together. This is my back. Oops, that's my front. That's my front of my inner line. Is that right? Let me see. Nope, that's the front of my inner lining. I was right. I get confused. Just bear with me, please. Okay, so here's that. Okay, that's the back of my lining. Front sides together. Double checking for my own personal note there. Okay, back in the sewing machine. Remember to make sure that you're doing your seam allowances big enough to catch everything and be consistent. Whatever you choose to be your seam allowance, okay? So there's one. Oh, let's go across the bottom. I could have went all the way around across the bottom and stuff. One stitch instead of stopping there. I didn't think. All right, so we're gonna go all the way around. Make sure that pocket is nice and straight in there and out to the edge. And there we go. And remember what I said about that seam allowance, because my pocket didn't quite fit mine, and there it is right there. I just caught it. Okay. All right. Now at this point, you can either leave it like this and just have an envelope looking bottom to your bag, or you can do this little technique and have it as have a small bottom in it. So what we're going to do is, it starts out like this. We're going to pinch those two sides together and bring the seam allowances together. If you push one way and one the other way, you can then feel with your thumb in there to bring the stitching lines together. Okay, make sure it's flat. Give it a little tug if you have to make sure it's flat. Okay, what we're doing is we are making a triangle. Okay, once you have that triangle, go back to your sewing machine And it's about 1 inch. I just kind of measure to the little piece of metal here. Make sure that it's laying there good, it's not folded over or anything. And then do a stitch backward and forward, because also one of those areas that is going to have the stress. Go ahead and trim that off. Not too close, but close enough. Go to the other side, same thing. Pull those two to make a triangle. Put one seam allowance one way, one the other, and then using your fingers you can slide back and forth and you can feel it. It will actually stop and be together. It's kind of cool. All right, same thing back under the sewing machine for that approximately 1 inch. Back and forth. Don't run over that pin. And back and forth. Again, do a slight trim, just because you'll have a liner and it'll be very bulky. Are you ready? Check this out. Okay, right there. Poke our bottom out, poke the little holes. Look at that! Isn't that cool? Now, if you wanted, you could put a piece of cardboard down in there to help hold it nice and flat like that, or the lining stuff that I told you about earlier. But I just don't have any of that, so I am, like I said, making do with what I have. So there it is so far. Now I need the part that goes up here, which is going to also hold our handles and stuff. But first, we better get the handles done. So our handles we already ironed. I told you that I wanted to put top stitching on them to make them very, very durable. All right, I am doing 4, and if I'd have been on my game, I would have had one already done, but I don't. All right, that's our first one. Let's move on to the second one. Thread going on. And last one down there. All right. I don't know why that won't do that anymore. Now, oops, I need to do this one too. Okay, back to the facing. I've got the handles. Now the facing, right sides together. remember doing a big one on that. See that seam allowance I was talking about? Gotta remember. Uh-oh. Oh, I made a boo-boo, and we're gonna leave it. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. You'll have to figure it out. Okay? All right. So, here's the fun part. Okay? So we're gonna put right sides together. Right sides together. Starting with our edges. Bring those edges together, give it a pin. Same with the other edge. All right. Okay, edges are in. Now the handles. One handle at a time. The handle slips right under here between the bag and the facing. And you want to make sure that it's away from the edge. I'm putting it about a thumb's width away from the edge, okay? And pinning. Take the same handle, the other end, and turn. Do not twist, just turn. And put it approximately a thumb's width away from the edge also. And you'll want that to be consistent, how far you put those handles away from the edge, because otherwise your bag will hang weird on you when you have it over your shoulder. Okay, so that takes care of that handle. And then we come through here and just lay it nice and flat and so on. Okay, you're about to see my mistake. Are you ready? I didn't put right sides together on my facing. I did one backwards, but I'm not going to worry about it, and I'll show you why. There is no reason to get rid of your mistakes, especially if they don't show. Well, it'll show if I turn the bag inside out, but it's not going to show here. All right, that thumb's width, the pin, and turn, but do not twist. I know I said that before, but it happens so often, to me anyway. Okay, yeah, I put that pin all the way through to the other side. Not good. Okay, this one. Are you ready? Starting at one edge. And remember, we are not sewing over our pins. I'm not telling you that per se, it's for me. Do this twice just to give it the extra. I would have back and forth across my handles here, but I totally forgot, so I want you, you know what? I'm running away here and I don't even have thread. So I'm telling you something and woohoo. Okay, I need a little thread here. Get it open. I see it. You got to have eyes that work. Good. why they don't make them easier. There we go, there it is. All right, sorry you guys. Okay. Okay, well, I'll turn that off because I can't see with it on. There we go. All right, so I was going to tell you, I did not remember to go across those handles. I wanted to double stitch them, but I guess it doesn't much matter. I will have to go back here and repin because obviously everything went. No twisting, no twisting. Thumbs width there, and this side looks like we did all right, so here we go. Are you ready? I have dogs who are looking for attention, so please just ignore. We're almost to the end. All right, on our handles, do that, run across it and go back because it is a very, very big stress point, okay? Back and forth, and then we pull that up, okay, and that's the front of your bag, the outer part of your bag. Let's go on to the inner part. The inner part, right sides together. Right sides, Gayle. Right sides together. Now on this one, we are not going to sew across the entire bottom, okay? We're going to leave a hole. Back and forth at the beginning of your hole, beginnings. I'm going to leave about that much, not a whole lot of space. Really don't need it. Just going to pull our bag through it, so that should be good. And up the side. Now remember what we did down in the corner of this bag here, the outer piece, pulling those corners apart, making that triangle again. Okay. And like I said, you can feel that in there. You can tell when it's right. And then make sure that you finger everything down to make sure you don't get a pucker or anything else like that. Approximately 1 inch, or for me, the point on the edge of the silver. Oops. Hold. Don't run over that pin. And down. Trim the excess and go to the other side. This is probably the hardest part of the bag, is just getting these two. Everything else seems to flow really easily. I'm saying that right now, but this is actually my second take on this. But it is a simple bag and it is fun. If you enjoy sewing, this is the thing to do. Sit and sew. Love it. Pull that pin. Okay, so I do have my little pocket bottom there, and I have a hole in it, okay? All right, here we go. Take your outer piece, leaving your handles down, and you're facing up. Ready? Poke it inside this one. Poke it way in there. Get those handles down. You do not want to accidentally stitch your handles to your lining of your bag. Okay. It's right sides together. Putting our side seams together. Side seams together. And remember, this is the part that I messed up on. I have one going the wrong way. And I'll show you when we're done so you can see, even though I made a mistake, it's still fine. Actually, I've made a lot of mistakes. If you can find them, you go for it, okay? All right, ready? Making sure everything is down in there. We do not want to go through anything but 2 layers of fabric. Sure you're feeling for those handles. They try to prop right up. Here we go. That one down. Are you ready? Now through our hole in the bottom, just pull your bag out. Now, if you want this to be reversible, the hole in the bottom of your lining, you can whip stitch that close with a sewing needle and thread. I am not going to worry about it because I already made one mistake and my bag is no longer reversible. So I'm just going to stitch that little hole on the sewing machine. This is the last stitch, you guys, and then you get to see the finished product with all its little mistakes and all. So I'm just doing it right along the edge there, just enough to make it not a hole anymore. Okay. Now, once you've sewn that in, poke that inside your bag. Straighten out the bottom pieces, get it in there, and we have a bag. We have a bag with pockets. As I said, this is totally reversible, except that Gayle made a mistake. So I will show you it inside out. And now my pockets, of course, are on the inside, which a lot of people like that. And I have this wonderful band on the outside, which looks really pretty if it was a different color. Okay? But when I turn it over, that's when you'll see my mistake. Oops. There you go. Congratulations, you just made your first book bag. Good luck and happy sewing.